Okay. Hello, students. I hope that you are doing well, and I hope that you are ready for a new week. Sorry, I won't be there, but I wanted to start with this question from the exam. I will have your exams ready by Monday. I wanted to share with you this question over here: how many picoseconds are in a week? So this is just happening from our common knowledge, right? We do know that in 1 week, we're going to start with what we are given, right? 1 week. And we're going to use what is called dimensional analysis. So we can cancel out units. So we're going to do some ratios that are known to us. For example, we do know that in 1 week, we have 7 days, right? We have that in 1 day, we have 24 hours. We also know that in 1 hour, there is 60 minutes, and in each minute there are 60 seconds. So 60 times 60 is going to be 3,600 seconds, right? And we also know that in 1 second, how many picoseconds? And if you look at the table that you were given on the exam, is 10 to the negative 12 picoseconds. And the reason why we want it in this format is because it would help us cancel out some units. So if we would have to cancel out some units, then all I need to do is I need to cancel the units that repeat on the top and the bottom. There is a reason why I do top and bottom. So I'm gonna do week and week, day and day, hour and hour. Careful that you're only canceling the units, not the number. And then seconds and seconds. That means the only unit on my answer is gonna be picoseconds. So then I go back to the calculator and I can do 1 times 7 times 24 times 3,600 times 10 to the 12. And if you put that in the calculator, you're gonna get a number that's around 6.048 times 10 to the negative 7 picoseconds, right? Picoseconds, this is the answer. Now I can approximate it to 6 times 10 to the negative 7 picoseconds, because I only have one significant figure here. I have two significant figures. I don't know if you have seen significant figures before, but I always want to put the least number of significant figures. So in this case, it would be 1, because I only have one significant figure in these two. So then it's about 6 times 10 to a negative 7 picoseconds. If you don't know this in scientific notation, you should have written this number over here with 6 zeros and a 6 picoseconds. You always want to put the unit because this is what you are reporting. So either of these answers is correct, okay? Just to let you know, and this goes into the topic of today, which is called scientific notation. You need to have a scientific calculator in order for this to work. So let's start over here. Why do we use scientific notation? We do not want to be writing all these zeros everywhere. That's why we do need scientific notation, to have a better way to express big numbers, very big numbers, or very small numbers. And that's the reason why we do. How do we do the scientific notation? What are the rules? So first, we need to pick the number between 1 and 10 over here. We need to pick the number between 1 and 10, focus where I'm focusing here. And then we're gonna multiply that by a power of 10, right? So for example, if I have a number that's not in between 1 and 10, right? And actually it should be between 1 and 9.99999, right? If I don't have that number, and if it's over 10, then this is not proper scientific notation, okay? Because it's not following the rules. It's not following having a number between 1 and 10. Make sense? So if I want to write, let's say, this big number in scientific notation, I cannot do 137, I cannot do 13.7, because 13 is over 10. So all I can do is 1.37. So if I'm gonna put, and I'm gonna make a different color, see if you guys can catch that. So if the decimal is over here, then I'm gonna count, right? If I need to put it here, I have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that would mean that when I put the decimal here, I have a power of 10 to the 8, because I have put the decimal point 8 places before. So this is a proper scientific notation because 1.37 is a number between 1 and 10. I hope that makes sense. So let's try this together. If I have a very small number, then all I need to do, I need to put the decimal point somewhere, and I'm going to use another color for this, right? I need to put a decimal point in between 1 over here, right? Because it would be 1.23. I cannot do 12.3 because 12 is higher than 10. So then I have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it would be 1.23 times 10 to the negative 5 because I'm going to the right. Next one, same thing. Where am I going to put it in between these four numbers? I got to put it here. Why? Because 6 is a number between 1 and 10. So then I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it would be 6.806 times 10 to the negative 6. Make sense? Now, if I put a big number and I'm going to the left, then I don't have negatives on the powers of 10. So for this big number, I gotta do what I just did over here. So I'm gonna have the decimal over here and I'm gonna move 3, 6, 7, 8 places to the left. So it's gonna be 3.06 times 10 to the 8. Make sense? I hope it makes sense. In this case, we don't have units, so I am just showing you the number. So this is no meters or nanometers or nothing, so just it's a number. But we need to put units when we are asked to put units. So let's look at some units, okay? Now, before you get into that, just reminding you, this is just a reminder one. Remember that the reason why we move to the right and to the left is because we follow this pattern. This should say to the 4. This is like an exponent, to the 3rd, to the 2nd, to the 1, and this is to the 0, right? So when you go into negative numbers, it's like if you are dividing by 10. So then you will have that 1 divided by 10 is the same as 10 to the negative 1. And you probably learned that 1 divided by 10, when you put this denominator in the numerator, it goes up. Remember, this has a 1, right? It goes up as a negative number. So these are all the rules. Take a look at this, okay? And this is just, we can see the pattern. So it's going from big numbers, 10 to the 4th, 10 to the 3rd, 10 to the 2nd, 10 to the 1st, 10 to the 0, which is 1. And then I continue, right? 10 to a negative 1, 10 to a negative 2, and so on and so forth. So this is why we're using properly scientific notation to the right and to the left. Now, why is this important in science? Because when we looked at the microscope, and before we get there, we need to understand these sizes. For example, if I tell you the nucleus of a human cell is about 7 times 10 to the negative 6 meters in diameter, what is the length in a standard notation? A standard would be putting the zeros, right? So if I have a negative 6, I make sure I'm moving 6 places. So right now, this is where my decimal is, right? 7 point. So I'm gonna say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then let's see if this is the 6. Remember, my number was there, so I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So that's why this in standard notation, it would be moving 6 places, including the number, right? Now, example, if we wanna go and do some microscopic measurements, we need to look at these small numbers. Do you see these small numbers over here? This is 2 micrometers, this is 5 micrometers. This is 10 micrometers and around 10 micrometers. So it's important to know what micro means. It's important to know what the prefixes tells us. If we're gonna look at the nucleus and I tell you, well, the size of this nucleus is actually 5 microns, which is the same as 5 micrometers, you need to understand what that means, right? So microns or micrometers, you need to know that this is the same. If I write 5 microns or micrometers, this is the same as saying 5 times 10 to the negative 6. Where do I get meters? Where do I get this number from? Just because I know the prefixes, right? So micro is 10 to the negative 6. So that means I need to put 10 to the negative 6 in there. Make sense? I think it's to the negative 6. Anyway, if you don't remember, you go back to that one table with the prefixes. Let's continue. So let's look at this in terms of practice. I put again the information for you, okay? Feel free to pause the video and make sure you take a look at this, make sure you have this chart with you, okay? This is another chart, it's the same thing. So let's look at the micro. Do you see the micro over here? Micro is 10 to the negative 6, right? So for example, if I have a nucleus like I just saw, I can relate to what does micro tell me. And it tells you what is the symbol for micro. Yeah, micro is like a little u. Now, there are other units that don't have prefixes, that are none of these, right? None of these and none of these. They are their own. They are like not in this table. So I have to show you this because we will see them. Look at this one more time, right? 1 micrometer is 10 times to the negative 6, or power of 10 to the negative 6 meters. In this case, if they give me a unit, I need to put a unit over here. Okay, now, if I look at this one, I want you to pay attention to this one over here. It says 1A with a little degree on the top, A with a little degree on the top. That is called an Armstrong, right? And an Armstrong over here, an Armstrong, it's equal to 10 to the negative 10 meters. I need to know that conversion so I can use it when I need it, right? This would be 1 picometer, 1 hectometer, 1 kilometer. I need to know what those symbols mean. That's why I'm using this table, right? I need to use that table. So when I do a conversion, for example, if I want to convert 56 nanometers to meters, then I have to put a unit, like I just showed you on the previous page. It would be 56 nanometers. And then I put the same unit that I want to cancel out at the bottom of the fraction. So I can cancel nanometers and nanometers, and I put the ratio. So I say, how many nanometers equals to 1 meter? If you look at nanometers, then we go here is 10 times or power of 10 to the negative 9. So that means I have to put 1 meter equals 10 to the 9 nanometers. Yes, and that is, why is it not negative? Because I'm saying 1 meter. 1 meter equals 10 to the 9 nanometers. So when it goes to the top, it will go with a negative sign, and then I multiply 56 times 10 to a negative 9, or I divide 56 divided by 10 to a negative 9, and then I will get 5.6 times 10 to the negative 8. This is a negative 8. This is an exponent, meters. Does that make sense? So you always have to work like this. Let's look at this. 2.45 centimeters to micrometers, right? So then I have centimeters and centimeters here, right? Then I put the ratio, I cancel this, 1 meter. So in 1 meter, I have 10 to the second centimeters. 1 meter is also equal to 10 to the 6 micrometers. This one should say micrometers, right? So then if you multiply this times this divided by that, it will give you 2.45 times 10 to the 4th micrometers. Hope that makes sense. Okay, now it's time for you to work out the problems. So this is gonna be what you have to show me when I come back on Monday. Okay, so you're gonna do this just regular scientific notation, and you're gonna do these 5 problems, just conversions in between units, including units. So these ones over here should be working for you just like the examples above, okay? So make sure you copy this in your a piece of paper. Once you do it by hand, then you're gonna take a picture and put it on your notes. This is how it's gonna work. I hope it helps, and I'll see you Monday. Thank you guys so much.